If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, listen up. CarShield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that covers more parts than ever. Visit carshield.com/audio to find out how you could pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Get your free quote today at carshield.com/audio. That's carshield.com/audio.
We made this.
Hello and welcome to We Are Starfleet, a Star Trek Strange New Worlds podcast. And I'm very delighted and excited to say that we're finally going to talk some new Strange New Worlds material. Here in the virtual studio, we have the full crew of the We Are Starfleet team here. Ashley Thomas, Craig McKenzie, and Ian Buckley. Hello and welcome, folks. How have we been? How stoked are we?
Hello.
Hello.
Hype.
The hype levels are set to maximum. But before we get into the actual trailer discussion, a lot of things have been happening. There has been, Craig, what's it been? About a year now in between season 1 and season 2?
Something like that, yeah. It's been a while. We've been waiting a while.
We have been very, very patiently. Craig, can you remind me, where'd we leave off with Captain Pike and the crew of the Enterprise?
So Pike had accepted that he needs to let the accident happen. He no longer thinks about preventing it because he realizes that history has to play out in a certain way, or the best way it will play out is if he suffers that accident, unfortunately, for him anyway. Fortunate for the rest of the timeline. La'an is away trying to find the parents of the child, Ariana, in the 9th episode. Una has been arrested because she's genetically modified. Uhura might be about to graduate the academy. She left to go do that. And everyone else is just sort of doing stuff. Oh, Spock might be really angry. He unleashed a little bit. So there's a few things that are happening with our crew.
So everything's kind of in a state of flux leading into season 2, and the trailer definitely gave us emotional Spock. And a lot of people are talking about canon when it comes to this stuff, because again, folks, this is a prequel series, so there's a lot of room to kind of make it up as you go along. Ian, does canon matter?
Well, every fan decides for themselves to what extent canon matters, right? I mean, you have some folks who are really into like the universe of the books, which are not by any stretch of the imagination canon, but like I know and have spoken to people for whom like that is very real, Star Trek to them. And they hold those stories near and dear to their hearts. So really it's always been and will remain up to fans to decide for themselves. I think that at least in terms of thinking about how characters are acting in Strange New Worlds, we have to, one, recognize that we're telling different stories in a different era of televised storytelling, but also that I think the version of Spock that we're getting in this is much more akin to the version of Spock that we saw in The Cage, which was a much more emotive version of the Spock we then came to know in the the broadcast iteration of the original series. So I think that canonically, a more emotional Spock in this era isn't a problem for me. And even if it irked me a little bit, like, I'm not going to make that any other fan's problem.
That's great. That's a great way of putting it. I can't say I disagree. Everything that we see on screen technically is canon. So even if it contradicts itself, we just got to get right with it sometimes. Ashley, I want to play a little word association here with you. My first one is Pike's hair.
Pike's Peak.
Oh, okay. And then the second one, Mortagus.
Mortagus equals me screaming in delight. That's what I associate with those words.
I love it. I love it. And this trailer gives us plenty of Mortagus. Let's get into this trailer. It was 1 minute and 52 seconds. Bombastic. Tons of music playing, lots of flashy VFX showing starships doing really cool starshipping things. And it opens with Erica Ortegas landing a shuttle. Ashley, take us through what your thoughts are with this opening sequence here.
Number one, I think Melissa Navia looks like she's having the greatest day of her life every time she's on screen. Like, she always looks like she's having a really good time. I really appreciated that you got like a very tiny detail that Melissa has mentioned in interviews and I've seen her tweet about it, but it's something we'd not really heard of on screen. Is that Ortegas is a war veteran, and she says, "Oh, I did this all the time during the war," versus they're basically trying to crash land on this planet, and she's not firing engines until they're like at a certain altitude after they've already entered the atmosphere or whatever. So this is pretty a scary move. This is basically like free falling without any brakes or a parachute, if you will. So but you get that little details like, I did this all the time in the war, it's fine, we're going to be fine, and everybody else looks like, are you sure? So that's an interesting tidbit that I'm looking forward to them dissecting.
Yeah, that's where we get that world building coming in. Craig, what were your thoughts on the opening of this trailer?
It does that thing that they need to get rid of, it looks like we're going to crash, and then they fall out of camera and then appear and haven't crashed. It's just such a cliche. I hate it. I hate it every time I see it. Stop doing it, because we all know what you're doing there. But it looks cool.
Just in Star Trek, or just in general?
In general. I mean,
as a trope.
Seen that? Yeah.
No, Craig, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was exactly my thought watching it again was, how many times are we going to see this on screen?
Yep. But visual effects are amazing. It looks like it's that swashbuckly original series type tone. So I'm all for it, apart from the trope.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Ian, anything else to add?
No, and look, we're gonna get some tropes. We're gonna get some Trek tropes. It's just some of them have far exceeded their expiration date, and that's one of them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, listen, trailers are always designed just to get people looking at it, talking about it, thinking about it. Very rarely is there deep, integral substance to these things other than, ooh, what was that? Ooh, let me pause here. Ooh, let me pause there. That's all it is. The trailer continues. We see the Enterprise doing a flyby on a planet. This is cool. This is another thing, Ian, I asked you about the canon before. We have seen the Enterprise enter atmospheric levels, but the kerfluffle is that, hey, it's a spaceship. What's it doing on a planet? I like this sequence here with Uhura. She turns around. She's got this look on her face like something's wrong. What was your take on this next little piece here?
I think that this is one of those things that just sort of follows the rule of cool. I think that once we had the J.J. Abrams iteration of the Star Trek universe, where we saw the Enterprise apparently being constructed on the surface of the planet, which is insane. But once we've sort of crossed that bridge, I think visually, in terms of like the kind of stories the Trek is telling, it's kind of like, well, okay, we've crossed that bridge, but also it's an alien planet. Gravity is different, atmosphere is different. There's enough wiggle room there for me that I see that and I don't automatically go, I hate it. I hate it. In fact, quite the opposite. I see that shot and I think, man, the visual effects and the design and look of the show is just so bright and colorful and fun. I'm just so happy to be engaged on that level by Star Trek again that I can forgive a few things that might otherwise bump my little nerd brain.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Craig, Ian mentions that there is a lot of colorful, fun moments, but the overall tone, it seems, is, there's some dire thing happening in the background. We know this trailer takes a lot of footage from the first couple of episodes. So, what do you think we're necessarily in store here?
Well, I don't think they're building up to some kind of universe-ending threat of any kind, because that doesn't seem to be the show's jam. And let's face it, we need to get away from that. It's probably just a problem in an episode that they're using some hyperbolic dialogue in order to make it seem like a bigger deal than it necessarily is. Because how many times did you watch the original series or Next Generation? They were dealing with something apocalyptic for that planet they were near, and then they just solve it and leave, and it's no big deal.
Solve it and leave, and it's no big deal. Ashley, there's this really cool spot right here at the 37-second mark of the trailer. Spock in the captain's chair. We know from the trailer he wants to make the ship go fast. What was your first impression of this?
uh, Pretty excited, honestly. I'm looking forward to seeing Ethan Peck, Spock, kind of take control like this. I would like the ship to go, please. Uh, that is great. I feel like we're gonna see a lot more growth from Spock this season. Uh, full disclosure, we all got screeners last night. I haven't watched any of them, but based on like the little snippets we're getting in this trailer, I feel like we've got. I think how you described it with Spock. This is a Spock that's more like Spock that we see in the original pilot, The Cage, than the Spock we get in original series. And I think that is an interesting take I'd not quite thought of. So, little more emotive Spock. I'm bracing for him to yell "the women" at some point, or maybe just "the chapel." But we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Emotional Spock is always a fun Spock to see because it's not the character that we know and have come to love. Craig, any thoughts on what Ashley just said there, with this being the pre-original series, of course, but more like the pilot?
The strange thing with this is you almost have to watch Spock develop in the wrong direction, because he's going to become less familiar or less comfortable with himself because he gets to the original series and he's much more Vulcan than he is here. So it's not quite the Titanic, but it's kind of like that. You're watching him not find himself, which is a bit strange for a TV show, and it's something that we can talk about a bit later. But I do wonder if this is more reboot than prequel, because I said it last season as well. There's quite a few elements of it where it's, yes, this is the same character, as in their name is the same, but they're not the same person in the original series. And I'm okay with the fact that it would be a reboot, to be honest, because I really hate them to limit the characters based on the fact that they have to be a certain way in the original series.
Yeah, fair. Ian, let's keep on the Spock train for a bit here because there's a lot of Spock in the trailer. I feel like it's going to be a Spock heavy season, as Craig's alluding to here. Spock in a spacesuit, he's drinking with the Klingons. Tell me your thoughts, Ian.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Yeah, I love that we're going to see so much more of Ethan Peck this season. You know, we had a lot of Spock-centric stories in the first season, and those were some of the highlight episodes for me personally. So I think that they recognize that they have a good thing going here in Ethan Peck's portrayal of this beloved character that was a bit of a gamble when they decided to do that. And ultimately, I think they feel like they've been rewarded for their decision, and now they're giving him more room to stretch his acting chops and to stretch this character of Spock, because we are given enough of a buffer time wise between this iteration of the character and the one we see in TOS. And Craig, I'm inclined to agree. I don't think we need to be like religiously beholden to the version of these characters that we got in, you know, the mid 60s, for God's sakes. I mean, we at some point have to be able to grow beyond that and still honor it, but you know, we don't have to be beholden to it forever. It's okay to play around with this world, to tell new stories, to have these characters do things in a way that's a little bit different than maybe what we had in mind. But I don't want to see a wholesale, like, throw it all out, pretend like it never happens, like ignore everything that came beyond. Like I do think that having Spock potentially struggle with his identity, I mean, like, that's been a part of Spock's story for a long time. And I think it is interesting to go in a direction of, you know, he kind of loses his way for a while, and maybe we'll get to explore that in future seasons of Strange New Worlds. I think that could be interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing that journey to the character he becomes in TOS.
Ashley, any thoughts?
Yes, and amen to what you guys said. I don't think I have anything else intelligent to add to that, other than I've referenced it before on the show. But in 2020 on Star Trek Day, they did a interview with some of the cast for Strange New Worlds, and Ethan Peck talked about how when he was first cast as Spock, he went back and watched original series, took notes about the things Spock referenced, like philosophers, um, plays, whatever like literary references or whatever that Spock mentioned, and read them so he could better embody what that character was trying to convey and portray. So, I mean, some people aren't going to be happy with anybody that isn't Leonard Nimoy, and that's, you know, that's your prerogative. But I don't think it's fair to say that Ethan doesn't give his all to honor the character of Spock in his portrayal. So I love him, and I'm excited to get more Spock this season. But I mean, who doesn't grok Spock? Come on,
Right.
Yeah.
Some great VFX here in some of the scenes of the trailer where Spock appears to be walking across the saucer section of a derelict Starfleet ship here. Personally, I'm of the opinion that it could be, you know, Klingons are involved. Klingons are trying to salvage it, and maybe that's how that whole plot line comes into play here. I don't know. I'm just totally spitballing here, but I love the visual effects of this because there's also like this alien moment right around the 50 58 mark of the trailer here, and it's just like this creepy little stinger thing that comes around behind him, and then it kind of the scene switches, and then we have Chapel and Ahura and Ortegas. So lots of great science fiction tropes here, elements, inspirations from and of. Ashley, I know, Alien has been on the top of the conversation as of late. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, accidentally wearing an alien t-shirt today. So,
I didn't even notice, I swear.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's also my favorite movie of all time. So there is anything that even like has a whiff of Alien. I'm just like, whoa, wait, what was that? But I rewound the trailer multiple times. Be like, is that a Gorn? Are we getting like some mid? Like, is this how? Are we getting another Gorn type episode like we did in episode 9 last season? Um, I would be perfectly happy if we revisited that and it had an Aliens vibe. I think that would be really fun. But it definitely smacks of Xenomorph to me. I don't know what Spock's doing, what's on the hull of the ship, but nuke it from orbit. That's the only way to be sure.
Absolutely. Craig, what do you think about Spock? We're still talking Spock here, folks. About Spock and Chapel embracing. Are they kissing? What's going on with this?
Well, they're definitely kissing. The trailer shows you that. So that's happening. I'm not sure about that. And that's where I'm coming into the concept of this being more of a reboot than a prequel, because Chapel is one of the characters that doesn't really resemble her original series counterpart.
Right.
That's fine, because Jess Bush is doing a great job creating her own take on this character and playing, fitting within the framework of the show. Same with Ethan Peck as Spock. And the first season made a lot of their relationship, or their blossoming relationship, I suppose. But if you go by original series canon, you know that it never comes to anything because she's just love struck throughout and he has no idea. That's their dynamic in the original series, whereas here it's much more CWA. And I know you said before, Mike, that Star Trek is much more in line with the CW than it is, say, HBO. And I agree with that. And here we have love triangles and, all this flirtations and things, very common CW tropes. So I'm okay with it. And if they just came out and said at some point, you know what, this is a reboot, just deal with it. And my theory is that they are transitioning into a stealth reboot of the original series by just slowly adding the characters from the original series as they go.
Yeah, I think, Craig, you're onto something there, that they are kind of softly rebooting certainly the characters of, Uhura and Spock already, and Pike. And yeah, it's not hard to see where they've already, even in season 1, brought back Kirk. I mean, I thought that was pretty bold. We'll get into how we feel about his return in season 2, but yeah, all of that to me, like you said, Craig, indicates that is kind of the direction they're headed. Of, well, we'll not tell the same stories. Those stories still exist, but we will tell new stories with these characters who existed before. There are going to be new versions of those characters, and if you want to see what the old versions were like, you can go watch those series. There's episodes that are out there. They're not going anywhere, but it is going to be a full-blown reimagining down the line, I think.
Ashley, are you on board for the added romances and love triangles?
Sure, why not? That's fun. Also, I really love Jess Bush's Chapel. I think
Me too.
It's a oh my gosh, yeah, she's
the
brilliant.
best.
Just a great fresh take on that character. I said it when we were discussing the first season, but I feel like, especially like her and Uhura are given the opportunity to make these characters what they should have been in the original series. And so, does it totally line up with the original series? No, but I don't care. I like they're making these characters what they should have been, like fully realized, fully blown cast members. So I love what Jess Bush is doing with Chapel. Episode 7, where she and Spock share that kiss for, all for show. You can tell, oh man, that girl's heart is breaking, and because she feels like that's the only thing that she's gonna ever have with Spock is that one fake kiss. Now it looks like we getting another one that may or may not be fake. So I don't know.
Who knows?
Looked real to me.
Yeah, that moment was ripped straight out of a CW show. Any CW show, pick one.
Yeah, no, that definitely the thought crossed my mind. It's like that felt a little CW-ish, which I don't know that I totally want so much in my Star Trek, but if it's just Bush and Ethan Peck, I might let it slide.
Can
What's
you
the
guys?
ship name? Is
Can
it
you
Chapel?
guys? Yeah. Can you
Shipping.
guys
I'm a shipper.
clarify for me a little bit by I've watched some CW shows over the years. Like, do you just mean the fact that like there is romance as a component, the fact that characters are kissing on screen? Because like to me, that moment just read as, okay, these two characters are kissing. We see that in all kinds of shows on all kinds of networks. What about that moment said CW2 specifically?
The CW is all about forced romantic tension that may or may not make sense depending on who the characters are. But the CW is just well known for a lot of pretty people flirting with each other and delaying the inevitable coupling of those characters because it's better to wait. It's better to make your audience wait for 5 seasons to earn the final, beginning of that actual relationship they've been dancing around. So it is things like, oh, we have to pretend to kiss to get someone off the trail or whatever. That kind of nonsense happens in shows like Riverdale and all that. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
For me, it was more of it felt like now I'm thinking about this, I may backpedal a little bit, but I think it's because Jess Bush and Ethan Peck are young and hot. Like that, on a completely superficial level, that's why it felt CW-ish to me.
And their chemistry
part of it too.
reads as like it really comes through the screen. Like I thought it was very clear in season 1 that those two performers and characters had chemistry, which to me it almost feels like going by what you were just saying, Craig, almost the opposite of CW. Like we're already getting them like apparently making out again in like season 2. Like maybe they're accelerating this thing.
But it might be contrived circumstances that mean that they can't do anything about it until 3 seasons later.
Well, we know at least, speaking of canon, I mean, that engagement of Spock's lasts into, TOS era. I highly doubt they're going to that is a pivotal TOS moment. So I would be surprised if they completely wiped that one off the board canonically with things that go on in this show. But, who knows?
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how they're going to make that work. If said kiss that we get a little later in the trailer is contrived or not, I don't know. It did kind of set off some alarms with me, because I'm like, how much of this are we gonna like fudge and make it still canon or fit in with the original series canon? And as the more I hear Craig talking about how maybe they're aiming for a soft TOS reboot, I don't like the idea, but I also think he might be right. So
Sure.
Craig's got a good sense for this kind
There's
of thing.
definitely some potential, but I also can't help but go back to the old rule of like the story isn't even told yet. And here we are already prejudging how we feel about these moments that we see for a split second in a trailer that's designed to get people like us, we are the target audience, to come in and start talking about it and tearing it apart and saying this was awesome and what the heck did they mean by this, and we have to watch to find out. So
we don't have
the
context for sure.
context.
And,
And I think trailers like this are just immensely fun. just from a standpoint of like a viewer, and to see those moments where it's like, oh, well, remember they kissed in episode 7, but it was kind of fake, but Chapel was definitely hot about it, and Spock was like, whatever, I'm just trying to play the role here. What if the cards are flipped and now she's got Spock on the hook and she's like, nah, come on, I'm not playing that.
Could be. We don't know.
The trailer continues. We have a lot of great action sequences here. Again, all things that we can totally expect. But let's talk about Captain Pike a little bit in this trailer. We surprisingly don't have a ton of Pike on screen, with exception of him giving maybe some facial reactions. His hair is doing most of the talking. But Ashley, what do we think about Captain Pike leading into season 2? He seems to have grown into this command of the Enterprise business, and he's accepting his fate.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think what we're going to have is a Pike that is a bit bolder, willing to take more risks. He knows how he's going to be incapacitated in the future. So, I mean, for him, it's almost like having real life plot armor, if you will. He knows how he's going to become incapacitated. So yeah, I'm gonna like boldly jump into this. I'm gonna boldly go somewhere and do this thing. Uh, or I'm gonna take this risk that I wouldn't normally do just because I know I'm gonna come out okay.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
So I think that's going to be really interesting and really fun to watch. Just and Anson Mao is just delightful. He's going to be a good time to watch.
Ian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the lack of Pike in the trailer, relative lack of Pike in the trailer, just speaks to the different storytelling ethos that Strange New Worlds has compared to the original series. This is very much an ensemble show. It's not a Captain Pike show with a couple of co-leads like TOS was. It is very much a show about the whole crew, and we get an exploration of a lot of different kinds of interpersonal dynamics and relationships, both professional and personal, in a way that we never really got to explore in TOS. And so, yeah, I think it's great. I'm excited to see Pike. I think he's a great captain. I think he's a great character, and Anson Mount is doing a great job. It's just not only his show.
Fair points. Craig, do you think that Captain Pike getting his own kissy moments is still CW-ish, or is that right in line with Star Trek canon?
It's a bit of both, I suppose. We see that Pike likes to get his freak on with some lovely ladies. Wasn't there a take that people said about season 1 that Strange New Worlds is basically Captain Pike and his harem of women flying around the universe getting in sexy adventures? And I don't think that's a completely undeserved reading of the show, but obviously more than that. I do wonder if we're going to push Pike a bit more into the background than he was in the first season, because he's overcome that emotional arc. So you can do two things: give him another one that he can play around with, or just make him more of the sort of statesman who runs the ship and all the other characters get the chance to bounce off him a bit more. I think I would rather that for the second season, because I'm sure Ashley will be disappointed that Ortega's got very little to do, for example, in the first season. So there's I think it would be better to, beef up the supporting cast a bit more.
It makes perfect sense to me. Pike, Anson Mount, and Captain Pike have definitely led season 1 based on the surprising amount of fan support from the appearance in Star Trek Discovery season 2. So it's highly likely that, season 1, let's go with a known entity. Let's go and, promote this one particular look, and we'll start building in our characters as we proceed. So, Craig, it makes total sense to me that it does that. Let's talk another character that is getting quite a bit of screen time in this trailer here. We haven't mentioned him yet, but what do we feel about Lieutenant Kirk? Lieutenant Kirk, Ian, let me come to you first. Lieutenant Kirk makes his debut in season 2. Remember season 1, Kirk? That was an alternate timeline kind of wibbly wobbly thing here.
Yeah, I think my answer is the same as when we discussed our feelings of season 1, which is kind of boring, which is that I'm in wait and see mode. I really didn't see the need to bring Kirk back into the fold. Already, it felt like we were already getting enough legacy characters for my taste, and a couple of deeper cut ones. I thought with Chapel and Dr. Mbenga, and we already knew that we were going to get Pike and Spock, and we knew we were getting Uhura, which already felt like I felt like that was probably enough of an envelope push for my taste. I felt like I didn't need to see Kirk already. I liked the fake out with his brother early on in the season. I thought that was kind of all we were going to get. So I was surprised when he showed up, and I thought it was okay. Like, nothing about that performance leapt off the screen to me the way that, for example, Anson Mount did when he showed up as Pike in Disco. Like, if it had been that kind of debut of that version of the character, then maybe I'd have a little bit more excitement looking towards his return in season 2. But as it is, I'm just kind of waiting to be wowed.
And I'm looking forward to seeing Paul Wesley's Kirk actually play this timeline version of him, because we saw the alternate timeline version and he was different, but I was still seeing a bit of Kirk in him, so I was happy enough with that. And the interesting thing is we don't really know what Kirk's supposed to be like at this point in his life because we've never seen it. We start with him as captain, and Chris Pine's a different universe entirely, so that doesn't count. So be interesting to see what he's like at this stage in his life and what they have him do as well. It looks like he's might be the past, might be an alien planet that looks exactly like 21st century Earth. We don't know, but he's there with La'an, so he's on that mission. So that getting the two of them together could be quite interesting because he could have a very outgoing personality and she has a less outgoing personality. So it's, the odd couple, which could be fun.
Very interesting pair up. Ashley, what do you think about the about pairing Kirk and Khan together?
I think that's only going to make me like him more.
Ooh.
Honestly, I wasn't super impressed with Paul Wesley. Now, I understand that we have an alternate timeline. I also have never seen Paul Wesley in anything before. So I don't have a good feel for him as an actor. That being said, I understand that he's alternate timeline Kirk in that one episode. And I may feel differently, but when I see him, I don't see Kirk. He doesn't feel like Kirk to me. He doesn't speak remotely like Shatner. Not that he has to, but you would think there would be some kind of inflection that would be Shatner-esque, or have like a little more swagger. But again, I think what you guys have said is fair. This is Lieutenant Kirk. It's not Captain Kirk yet. We don't know what got him there. So, I'm willing to wait and see, but I personally did not have a good first impression. And again, that may just be because he's alternate timeline Kirk. So I don't know. But I do think that's going to be an interesting team up with him and La'an. But it also now makes me have questions about Space Seed. Again, this is a canon question. So I just watched Space Seed and Wrath of Khan this week. So
That's a great back-to-back.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, like, did he not make any kind of connection with the Noonien Sings or whatever? So I don't know.
Well, they've already changed canon in that respect because the eugenics wars happens later in Strange New Worlds than we were told in the original series.
Which could be, if we have that whole time travel sequence with Kirk and La'an going back to that 21st century looking planet. Craig, I'm of the opinion that it is a time travel thing, but I do like your theory that it's, an alternate planet that just, the parallel development.
Like in the
theory.
Orville, whenever they went to a random planet that was exactly like
or the original
Earth in the
series,
21st century,
like, we're at Gangster Planet today, or we're at Planet Miri. It just happens.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we're at Planet iPad. This shit this time.
Yeah, it's like, do timelines change? Are we going to talk about a butterfly effect at any given point where if they go back and do this one thing, well, now we have a branching timeline. But if we go by what Star Trek says, it's like, no, it's all the same universe. So to me, it's kind of like, well, you can't like have your cake and eat it too, like you have to choose which road you want to be on. Otherwise, like, what's the point of any of this? So I'm kind of curious to see where that particular story is going to go in terms of a canon perspective. But that said, I'm also not like a hardcore, it has to line up perfectly with every element of canon. I'm willing to accept within certain, context of the episode, like, if certain things change or names change or locations, even dates, like the eugenics wars, if they start, we are supposedly 20, 30 years past the eugenics wars at this point, but we're all still here theoretically. I don't know, maybe it's going on in the background. But it remains to be seen. So Ian, I guess wait and see is the name of the game.
And we're going to see very soon.
Yeah, just a couple of short weeks. Okay. So how many, if I can get an eye, are fans of Star Trek Lower Decks?
Aye.
So we have a crossover. We're getting the crossover. It's a crossover episode, and that's really fun. I am super excited for it. You've got Ensign Boimler, Ensign Mariner on screen, live action with the actual voice actors who are actors portraying their cartoon characters in real time. Ashley, let's start with you. Thoughts on this?
I personally have always wanted to be a cartoon character. So to be a cartoon character and then get to play that cartoon character in real life is just wonderful to me. Also, Tawny and Jack are just hilarious. I haven't seen Tawny in anything else yet, but anything I've seen Jack in has just been great. He's so funny, great comedic timing. Definitely has that manic energy, like in Scream 5. He was in that. Definitely had some manic energy there. Not quite to the level of Boimler, but he was a lot of fun in that film. So I'm so excited to watch them like just cause chaos in this.
Yeah.
I think Tawny, I saw her tweet the other day. She called Beckett and Boimler the disaster twins. It also, and they're apparently both wearing wigs in this scenario. So I think that's a lot of fun.
That's great. Make sure you check out Space Force on Netflix.
Yes, I knew she was in that, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So good to know.
Yeah, it's right up your alley. Sure. Craig, we, as Ashley just mentioned, they might be wearing wigs, but do we think that Boimler's purple hair is a dye job, or is he, or is purple hair just natural product of whatever planet he's from?
Well, we know that he dyes it. He revealed that, I think, at the start of season 3 in one of his personal logs that we were listening to. Yeah. Don't tell anybody my hair's dyed or whatever. It's definitely, he does that. And I do think with the Lower Decks characters, they must have been thinking about this possibility when they cast them and then started drawing them, because I feel like they could mostly embody them in live action, based on seeing the other actors as well, and now they're doing it. There's something a little bit uncanny valley about it. I'm just not used to seeing them outside of just being 2D drawings or semi 3D drawings. And I know there are some animated sequences for the episode itself. I actually didn't expect them to appear in live action. I was kind of hoping it would be some kind of holodeck thing where they're cartoons wandering around the live action sets, Who Framed Roger Rabbit style or whatever. But who knows? It looks like we're getting a time travel story, or it's a holodeck. I don't know, but
remains to be
we'll find
seen.
out. It's quite a cool crossover idea. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Ian, the uniforms on them look great, like ripped right off of the 2D
They look
drawing
good.
of them. But they look,
Yeah.
somehow sleeker, more comfortable.
Yeah,
or-
I've
I don't know.
seen, I've seen like iterations of the cartoon version in like cosplay form. Like people have like stylized like versions of that uniform and usually some makeup and hair pieces to go with it so that it looks like animated. And now seeing like it rendered in live action, I dig it. I kind of expected Boimler's hair to be a little bit of a lighter shade of purple. I was a bit surprised by how dark it looked. That might also just just be a color grading thing. Like maybe when they shot it, it was originally brighter purple. I don't know. But yeah, I love the look. I know I'm going to love the appearance of the two of them. They're so fun. Tawny Newsome is awesome. She's also great in season 3 of the show Brockmire, which is a hilarious and underseen show that was on IFC starring Hank Azaria. And yeah, I love Jack Quaid in everything I've seen him in. He's always fun. And I love Lower Decks. I couldn't be more excited for that episode. Do we know which one it is? 7. Okay, so it's not in this first batch of screeners.
No, the one after the episodes we have access to. Great.
Fantastic.
Thanks Paramount. I mean, really, thanks Paramount.
Yes, no,
6
sincerely,
months of
thank you.
advance access.
Thank you very much, Paramount. We love you very much. We're all subscribed to your streaming service and will remain so forever.
But can you give us 7?
Yeah. They really don't want that episode spoiled.
Yeah.
No.
This podcast is not sponsored or promoted by Paramount Plus in any way.
Other than they give us advance looks at these episodes.
You can. You guys can. You can. We accept. Boimler gets this great moment at the end of the trailer as he's beaming out, and Ashley, I gotta ask this question. If you had half a second to respond to Spock.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
First of all, I would just be completely distracted about how handsome he is. And then I would just, I would hopefully be able to, say, live long and prosper. But apparently Jack flubbed the take a few times, according to what I saw Tawny tweet the other day. And at one point, she was dying, laughing at him on set because whatever he said was just so funny. Yeah,
live a lot or something like that.
Something or whatever. But yeah, I would hopefully be able to respond with dignity and cognizance. But I've met Kate Mulgrew and I didn't sound like a complete idiot in front of her. So hopefully I could do the same with Spock. So
Fair enough. Ian, is there anything we missed in this trailer that you have noticed that we need to talk about?
Like you said, a lot of this is just, we're just having fun speculating. We'll know soon enough. And we know, at least I hope that we know, that they're keeping the best stuff kind of close to the vest, and they're saving it for the actual episodes and not for the trailers. So we'll see all the really cool steak that goes along with this sizzle pretty soon.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Craig, final thoughts on this trailer. What did you think? What's your impression?
We had the briefest look at Carol Kane as the new chief engineer as well. She says something about a crazy theory. That's all she says. Then before the ship is crashing into something. Whether they're connected or not, we don't know. But this trailer, I'm really looking forward to it. I liked Strange New World Season 1. There's some episodes that I wasn't super keen on, but the good thing about episodic TV is maybe next week it'll be better, even if you don't like the one that you're watching this week. So that's rather than, oh God, we're in the middle of a horrible season-long arc that I can't stand and it's never going to end. We've got another 10 of these or whatever. But I'm looking forward to it. I think Star Trek is at its best when it plays to more of the episodic angle. Just people in their starship going off and looking at stuff and getting into bizarre adventures. I think the show is going to give us that, and hopefully it evolves what it was trying to do in season 1 and gets a better hold on that than it did initially.
Ashley, final thoughts on this trailer from you? Anything out of this that you are super excited to see, or what do you want to see?
First, I just want to just give a quick nod to Carol Kane. Carol Kane is always a good time. That scene was particularly interesting to me because she was sassing Uhura, and I was like, "Oh, that's not going to last real long." Like I'm just waiting for them to butt heads. If what I read on Twitter is accurate, she's the new chief engineer. So
she is.
So
right, she's Hemmer's replacement.
So that's going to be really interesting. Apparently, speaking of Hemmer, apparently Bruce Horak is in season 2, but as a different character. Which character we don't know yet.
Yep.
My theory is maybe he's a Klingon, but we'll see. Third, we kind of danced around it a little bit, talking about Pike getting some smoochy, but one of those is with Una, which is like the very slightest callback to The Cage, where the Telosians point out that she loves Pike but can't express that, or their love is unrequited or something like that. It's been a minute since I've watched The Cage, so I don't remember offhand, but I remembered that little bit, so I was curious if they were ever going to dig into that. So
in CW inspired Trek, they definitely can.
I thought that was the captain that he was canoodling with.
I thought it was Una.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
They do bear a passing resemblance to one another, so it's possible in that brief glimpse that we got that it, because I did have the same thought and I watched it again and I'm pretty sure it's not Una.
On the Una thing, I'm guessing her plot will be wrapped up pretty quickly because she seems to just be back at her old job, which again is very Star Trek. It
is. Yeah. There's a court-martial episode and then it'll be resolved and we'll never think of it again, which is fine. Like, I think that it's fine for the stories to have like emotional carryover for the characters without it being like one season long.
One thing I really want to see is them address how Pike's knowledge of the future helps him solve the Una's problem, because in that alternate timeline, he obviously hasn't figured it out because she's still in prison in that alternate timeline that you saw last season. So obviously he must do something that he didn't do before in this season in order to get her out of that. Be interesting to see what that is.
I'm curious, have any of you guys read the mini series that IDW just put out, the Strange New Worlds, the Illyrian Enigma comic?
No.
3-issue mini series, definitely worth checking out. But I'm curious, without spoilers for the comic, because it's 3 issues. Go to your local comic book shop, pick it up. I'm curious if that is going to come into play, like because I mean, I don't know how canon we should consider the comics, maybe not, but I'm curious, are they going to draw from that story? So
There has been a push recently from Paramount. I know from interviews with some of the authors, they've talked about how their tie-in novels now are like it's like soft canon, like it can be,
Beta canon, yeah.
thrown out the door or whatever, but they're kind of considering it like, hey, if you want to know what happened in the run up and why Admiral Picard is evacuating all these Romulans, then you should read this book. Oh, okay, The High Country by John Jackson Miller just released, and that's going to talk about some of the events going on leading into Strange New World season 2. So there's some yes and no to the question about whether or not it's canon.
Yeah.
And we're getting
Mhm.
Klingons, which we've made reference to, but we didn't point out that like we're getting some dedicated Klingons, like their ships appearing, their faces and heads appearing again. They look different yet again.
Drinking blood wine.
Spock's drinking with them. Yeah, it's a whole thing. So what do we think about the reemergence of the Klingons and how they look and how they're apparently fitting into the status quo of Strange New Worlds, which is, between the war and the TOS era?
Yeah, what are relations like now that the war is over? That's something to explore.
Diplomacy, sure. We got to practice a little diplomacy. Star Trek has always kind of had a diplomatic bent to it. Personally, I am totally on board with bringing the Klingons in. They're a classic Star Trek antagonist.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I saw some grumbling online about, why would Spock be drinking with Klingons in this era of time? And I say, whatever. Like we haven't even seen the episode yet. Like, right. Like we don't even know how. And also that's one thing that, again, if they decide to tweak that bit of canon, fine. Who cares about like the interplanetary politics of the Federation were not top of mind when the writers were writing the original series. Sorry. So if they need to flesh some of that out, change some things to tell more interesting stories in 2023, I'm here for it.
Well, we need to build up to the Cold War, essentially, don't we? And maybe the establishing of the neutral zone.
Yeah, and we ended things like last time we saw the Federation and Klingons interact was at the end of season 2 of Disco, and they cooperated. There was not this sense of there being a ton of bad blood and hatred at that particular moment in time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we go from that to the status quo in the TOS era.
That was more specifically L'Rell, though, rather than the Klingons as such, wasn't it? So
that's true, but she's the Chancellor, so like let's see what happens
not for
there
long.
because right, exactly. We know how Klingon politics are. Maybe we get some of that explored. Maybe L'Rell. Do we think L'Rell comes back?
Don't see why not.
That's a great possibility. That's a great possibility. And what about consider the fact that Klingons aren't some monolithic, culture. They have such a vast, unique, individual aspects to them that we don't really get to see all that much. But with all the different houses, they have all their different style of dress and different naming conventions. Even Captain Sulu in the time of the Undiscovered Country is still kind of sort of friends with Kang, who went at Kirk a couple of times. So I think relationships can develop in space, and then they might be antagonistic towards each other, but then they're like, hey, we got into a couple of brawls, no big deal, let's go drink some blood wine and mull it over.
Yeah.
Great stuff. All right, folks. Any last final words on the trailer here?
Looks like a good time.
I would like the show to go now, please.
Yes.
Folks, thank you again for this episode of We Are Starfleet. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 is starting in a few very short weeks. And surprise, surprise, we will be covering each individual episode. So you might hear from myself and Ian. You might hear from Craig and Ashley. You might hear from Ian and Ashley. You might hear from Craig and me. I don't know. You never know. You might hear a totally random guest come on the show to share their thoughts as well. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Starfleet Pod. We are a part of the We Made This network of podcasts. And Ashley, let me ask you, where can we find you on the internet?
Lots of places. You can hit me up on the tweets at The Nerdy Blogger. You can like my Facebook page, facebook.com/The Nerdy Blogger. You can read my words on my blog, nerdyblogging.wordpress.com. You can also read my words on fangirlish.com, where I write about film and television, mostly Star Trek. I'll also be giving weekly episode reviews on there once Strange New Worlds hits. I'm also right now doing a revisit of the Star Trek original series films before Strange New Worlds, just trying to fill some time with that hiatus. You can also hear my words being read on the Sci-Fi 5 podcast, which is 5 minutes of science fiction history, 5 days a week. And you can also follow me on Mastodon. I'm at at The Nerdy Blogger at mastodon.social. I believe that's how you do that.
Yeah, I just signed up for Mastodon and I can't figure out how to use it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Also, you can hear me on Podcast 616 talking all things Marvel.
Perfect. Ian, I know you are podcasting all over the place these days. Where else can we find you?
So I pop up elsewhere on the network here, obviously doing our Star Trek coverage. Elsewhere, Illumination Above All is our Severance podcast. The Way is a Star Trek podcast I host. And yeah, you can hear me pop up on Movieversaries with Bo Nicholson. And yeah, elsewhere on the network, I pop up sometimes as well.
Craig, hit me with your contractually obligated user tag on the interwebs.
I will, but before that, you can mainly find me living on Neil Before Blog, so neilbeforeblog.co.uk, Facebook and Twitter, type it in, you'll find it. I do reviews of nerdy stuff. Finally, free of The Flash. It's finished now. I don't ever have to write about The Flash ever again. I don't ever have to watch it again, although I probably will end up doing that at some point in my life. But that's that. It's done. I'm reviewing Superman and Lois. I'll be reviewing Strange New Worlds. There's an attached podcast where we do a monthly news roundup and various other stuff. Coming soon is our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 chat. So keep your peepers out for that. And I'll be hanging around here on We Are Starfleet over the next 10 weeks to discuss this fine show. And contractual obligation, my personal Twitter account is at Nemesis4909, which originally was a Resident Evil 3 reference rather than a Star Trek reference, but it eventually became a Star Trek reference as well. So all good there. That's me.
Perfect. Thank you, folks, so much for following us here on We Are Starfleet on the We Made This network of podcasts. Please follow us wherever you listen to good podcasts. Give us a like, a subscribe, and, maybe even a 5-star review if you're so inclined. If you did not like the show and you don't care about it, then, don't say anything and maybe give us 5 stars anyway and move about your day. My name is Mike Slamer and we are signing off. Thank you so much. And we'll see you for episode 1 of season 2, Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Do you like music and do you like podcasts? Chances are you like music podcasts. Take this one for example, Pick a Disc. I'm Matt Latham, and every fortnight a guest comes on to Pick a Disc to talk about an album for any reason that they want to. We'll talk about the album as a whole, we talk about the songs, we talk about any personal stories about the album, and if they've ever seen the band live, and all sorts of other crazy tangents. And if at any point any of that made you want to listen to Pick a Disc, then you can find us on your podcast apps of choice or on the Facebooks and Twitters and Instagram under Pick a Disc. We're also on the We Made This Podcast Network on WeMadeThisNetwork.com and on Twitter at We_made this. Goodbye.